Here's the truth no one dares to say. Russia is becoming the USSR all over again, but not in the way most imagine. Yes, the KGB is back, food is becoming expensive and scarce, and the state towers over its people. But that's only the surface. Beneath the surface lies a darker, scarier truth. Welcome to Putin's Russia, the land of the unfree. Howdy, howdy, everyone. My name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. And today I will prove you that I am a very unusual Russian. On this channel, you will never find any BS, propaganda, or lies. Instead, you will find plenty of truth, common sense, and logic, and some emotions too. I'm still a human being, and I have lots of emotions. I speak of emotional topics, and today I have one, and a very important one too. I would like to talk about the similarities of the USSR, the old country, and today's Russia. But the similarities no one is talking about. The most important similarity, and the scariest one too. Russia today starts looking a lot like the old country, the USSR. It seems that well, I'm seeing the transformation. I'm looking at this transformation from very far outside Russia. I'm looking with awe and a certain degree of amusement. But those who are inside Russia, this transformation is far from amusing for them. There have been profound changes, some cosmetic changes on the surface. Everyone is seeing them and everyone is discussing, talking about them, and some very invisible yet fundamental change. And this is what I want to talk about today, the fundamental change no one is talking about. This change is incredibly important as it'll command Russia's future. I find it crucial. Crucial. You know what? I will let you decide whether you think it's important or not. Please let me know what do you think, your idea, in the comments down below, only after you are done watching this video. A little history first, and you absolutely need to hear to understand my message today. I'll try to be brief. For 70 years, the USSR was a totalitarian state. It means that the state, well, the small group of people inside the state called Politburo, controlled the country absolutely. There was not even a sign of political opposition, and there was a very strong communist ideology. So the USSR was 100% totalitarian state. You know what's interesting? In the USSR, nobody knew they lived in the totalitarian state. Well, nobody except for very few highly educated, brilliant dissidents such as Sakharov or Solzhenitsyn. But then they were exceptions to the rule. To the rest of us, the life was normal. Hard, but normal. Yes, there were constant challenges, like long food lines. Every day we stood in the food lines, I did. Empty stores, living near poverty, small places to live, tiny places actually, lack of freedoms. But to us, that all seemed normal. We were so used to it. We were just surviving. I remember that time clearly, early 80s. We were managing. Yes, food was scarce, but we never went hungry. There wasn't much clothing available at stores, but you know what? We were always dressed, although badly, but dressed. we managed to get together, have families, have celebrations, have fun. We managed to have friendships, to fall in love, to have emotions. Families had children, children grew up, were growing up. It was life. It was very odd life in a totalitarian state, but it was life full of emotions, full of love. It was life. We managed to adapt, and we simply didn't know better. To us, back then, life was normal. At times, it was even good. We didn't know that we could drive cars and own cars to build our own houses or earn money to build houses. No, it was not a part of that. That knowledge was not a part of our lives, but I was okay. We were oppressed, controlled, manipulated, but we didn't know better because everything is learned by comparison. Our lives changed with Mikhail Gorbachev. He was the first Secretary General who started talking to regular people. He acknowledged their existence. I remember a scene in March of 1985 when Mikhail Gorbachev, uh, General Secretary just a few weeks at the time, he was a very young 54-year-old leader, very new leader of the Soviet Union. He was being driven in Leningrad, and he ordered his cortege really, to stop in the middle of a street. He got out and started talking to regular people, passerbys, just regular folks. And that was televised and showed. He started listening to them. He started joking to them. He was surrounded by a very famous scene. He was surrounded by a crowd, and one of the ladies, all the ladies, were telling him, Mikhail Sergeyevich, please, I have one thing to tell you, one request, be closer to people. And he looked at her and said, well, how closer can I be than this? And then he was literally surrounded and squished by folks, and everyone started laughing. That was Gorbachev for you. He introduced a completely new concept of people possessing the right to have their own opinions that could differ from the party line and not being punished for that. It was called pluralism of opinions. Then Gorbachev allowed people to have small businesses and earn profits and take control of their lives. And it was called perestroika. Any Russian older than 40 years old remembers these words, pluralism of opinions and perestroika. In the mid and late 80s, we in the USSR started understanding how the scale of rightlessness of our lives that had been before. We started enjoying new freedoms. Now, freedom is a very important thing. If you experience it, the taste stays with you forever. Actually, I thought. Our lives back in the mid and late 80s were changing. We were speaking more and louder. We were standing up and growing bolder. Many of us were waking up from the lethargic sleep of 70 years of communism, and we were becoming activists, step by step, taking charge of our country. And, which was much more important, we were taking charge of our own lives. Everything is learned by comparison. In 1984, 1 year before Gorbachev, we were living our lives of slaves, and we didn't know that. And by 1989, we were breaking free. The old country, the USSR, fell apart on August 21st, 1991. In 2 days, it'll be 34 years. And we finally broke free, all of us. And I remember the feeling of being intoxicated without drinking. Freedom. It was so sweet, liberating, joyous. The KGB was gone. The Politburo was gone. The state, the evil empire, vanished literally overnight. The Iron Felix, this symbol of the strength of the KGB, right at Lubyanka Square, right next to the Kremlin, fell down while people got together and knocked it over, removed it. I still remember those days. We received absolute freedom, and it was like a gift from above. I can't say that everything was peachy-dory. Mafia appeared overnight. Nobody knew how market economy worked, so everyone was reinventing the wheel, so to speak. Life was very hard, but we were free. We were making ourselves. We were free to say anything. We were free to be loud, free from prosecution. The fear was gone. I remember that fear. I remember my relatives, my grandparents, my parents living in constant fear. And all of a sudden, in the 90s, that was gone. Because the oppressor, the state, was gone. What followed after? Well, history, really. 3 years ago, I made a video. I called it 1991 to 2022, the history of Russia through my eyes. If you want the details of what was happening in Russia, please check it out. It's an old video, but it still stands fresh. I'm going to put a link somewhere right over here. Check it out. And before continuing, let me take this opportunity and thank you. Thank you for being a part of Inside Russia community. Thank you for being a part of my life. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for liking, commenting, praying along with me, and sending your love. Thank you for buying me coffees at buymecoffee.com, for PayPal, for Patreon. This channel is what I stand for. And despite tremendous pressure that the world is applying to me, I'm demonetized by Google. I'm turned out by certain countries. Despite the pressure, I promise that I will continue sharing the truth with the world, with you. So thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart. You have my gratitude. Now, to the message. Later, much later, we learned that the Soviet state didn't die. It was badly wounded, but it survived. In the year of 2000, Soviet state started making a comeback in form of Vladimir Putin and his old KGB guards. Friends, and boy, what a comeback that has been. They started taking power back step by step, the stepping stone strategy, and some call it boiling the frog. At first, the changes didn't seem criminal, they seem okay. Putin was bringing order to mafia-tormented country, and it seemed okay. Later, bad signs started appearing, and at the end, the changes that Putin has brought to Russia, they have turned out to be sinister for Russia, for Ukraine, and for pretty much the rest of the world. The very thing Putin said when he became the president in 2000 was that the destruction of the USSR was the biggest tragedy of the 20th century. And it has taken him 25 years to turn Russia, the country that we made ourselves in the 90s, the new country, into the new Soviet Union. The old and the new countries, in many ways they look alike. Both empires conquering other countries or trying to conquer other countries, both brainwashing people with very strong propaganda machines, both having a great deal of control over people's lives. Russia is not there yet, not compared to the USSR. The USSR had absolute, complete control. But, in Russia, people still enjoy certain freedoms, such as freedom to leave the country, which we did not enjoy in Russia, or freedom to open business and earn profit. Certainly was absolutely illegal in the old country. But at the same time, Russia is on the way to even higher level of control because we are living in the digital age. And control is much more effective these days, Now, both countries having their economies in crises, both not producing much consumer goods, both being disliked throughout the world, even hated, both having the military-industrial complex and the war economy as priority. See, there are so many similarities at this point. The USSR and Russia they're like twins at this point. And now I'm going to get with my message. Now I'm going to tell you what I'm seeing the most crucial change of today is. All that I just told you is the surface changes. And all those changes, they can be fixed or turned around quite easily. The economy, well, yeah, that's easy. Put me, Konstantin, in charge of Russian economy with freedom to make executive decisions. And by power of applying certain economic policies, I could turn Russian economy around in 2 years. It's not rocket science, okay? To make Russia peaceful, it is possible. These changes, sinister changes, it's possible to reverse them because they are on the surface. Anything can be fixed except for, people. People who were killed in the war, they obviously cannot be brought back. And people who have been changed on the inside, it's really hard to change them. People are the hardest to change. And this is where the fundamental change that I find absolutely crucial has taken place. Inside Russian people, inside their hearts and souls. Be silent. Keep your mouth shut. Keep your head down. Mimic loyalty and patriotism. Mimic joy. Pretend. Будь как все. Be like everyone else. That's what I was taught as a child. Будь как все. And I was not exception. Each one of us, the kids, were taught that. Don't be a personality. Don't stand out. Be like everybody else. Be careful who you speak with, so they can denounce you. Be careful what you say. They might be listening to you. Now, I'm talking about the old country, the USSR. But you know what? Unfortunately, I'm also talking about today's Russia. Every single word I just told you is about today's Russia. You know what made me come up with this idea for this live stream? My messages usually, my stories are born in my heart. And they're usually born, I don't sit and think what I'm going to be speaking with. They're born out of everyday life, out of me speaking to someone, and all of a sudden there's a spark. And I know the stream is born, the message is born. All I have to do is sit down and write it down. Either script, sometimes I script, and sometimes I just put outlines, and that's it. So this live stream, this message, this idea was born when I was talking to one of people I know in Russia, and I talk to the Russians inside Russia every single day. And I usually turn video on. because I like see people when I speak to them. And guess what? I started talking about the changes in Russia, and for the first time since probably 1984, they did this to me. Don't speak. Be quiet. Be silent. That was the sign in the USSR. When there was someone around, there was danger of being like denounced or being overheard, or there was a cop, a policeman somewhere nearby. There was a government official. It was an environment that was not trustworthy. They always did this, so no one could see it. And that was like, I don't know, you understood what they meant. And you would shut up and you would keep your mouth shut. But you know what? I have not seen that. Well, I had not seen that since 1984. Because Gorbachev came and he started bringing freedom. That's why I was telling you this story, how we were changing, right? But before 1985, we were living just like that. Don't speak. Mimic loyalty. Pretend that you're joyous. Attend the demonstrations. Demonstration on May 1st. If you don't, they will know that you might suspect you are not loyal and things like that. And I'm ready to scream because this is happening right now to Russia and regular Russian people. Children, instead of being taught to be personalities like they were for, 30 years, now instead they taught by their parents to keep their lips shut, to stay invisible, starting at kindergarten. And by the state, children are taught to hate the West, they are acquainted with this idea that the state is militarized. Boys are to grow and become soldiers, and the girls are to grow and help them. And that's what I went through, and this is what they are going through now. Just like we were going through 40 years ago. For quite some time, I talked to Russians inside Russia, and I was convinced that they live in informational bubble. I was told that many times. I would start speaking of events in Russia, and they would shut me down, say, no, don't speak to us, please, no. We don't know anything about that. And when I offered to inform, to teach them, they would turn me down, say, no, we don't want to know because it hurts. We're going to go crazy when we know. Okay? And for a couple years, I thought that these people were trying to protect themselves from pain of harsh reality. I can understand that. I went through pain. I chose not to be in the information bubble. On the 24th of February of 2022, when the first rockets flew, I came out. I didn't even have this informational bubble. I sat in front of the camera and I started speaking. And the video is still there, okay? And I have spoken since then. I know that it hurts. So I understood them saying, well, perhaps they're weak. They don't want to be hurt. But you know what? I think I might have been wrong all along. Most Russians have turned to the old ways. They're not living in the informational bubble. They're not protecting themselves. They have lost faith in themselves. They don't feel being powerful. They don't feel that they have right to speak up or stand up. They, right now in 2025, they feel like we were feeling back in 1984, before Gorbachev came out and liberated us. And this is quite the transformation. I remember in the beginning of this live stream, I told you that I will prove you that I am not a usual Russian. I call myself an unusual Russian. That's who I am. I don't understand this change. I don't understand how they have gone through it, and it's unbelievable for me to even remotely think I could turn like that, like they did. It almost looks like someone activated some kind of a secret switch in their heads, told them a secret code that turned people in instant like that, made them go the old ways. This is bad. It doesn't allow for hope that the changes will come from Russian people. When I speak of future of Russia, I'm always asked, when do you think Russian people will have it enough? Guess what? They never. In this current state, they will never have it enough. They will be suffering more and more. Perhaps they will be complaining to their families, to themselves, to their friends. But you know what? The threshold is unlimited. The changes will not come from Russian people. In the USSR, year by year, we were changing. We were growing more courageous, becoming bolder, louder. The changes were coming from inside us, people, us. We were realizing our power. We are the people. Not quite like in the West, but still, compared to what was before perestroika, that was a huge change. Huge, okay? And just like that, 2 years in a blink of an eye, all that had been achieved in 30 years vanished. Just dust blown in the wind. I don't see how the changes can originate from inside Russian people today. Not with them being in this vegetative state, not with them thinking the way that they're thinking. They have lost the faith in themselves, they've lost the power over their own lives. And this is the fundamental change. Everything else is just the surface, economy and other things. Everything else can be changed easily except for what's in here. That takes years, efforts, and guidance. On the surface, Russia starts looking a lot like the USSR. It's not there yet. It's just getting there. It's getting there, in the worst state that the USSR was. But most important changes are happening deep inside Russian people. Russian people are silent again. And I have this very bad feeling if the war in Ukraine stops tomorrow, that nothing in Russia will change. Because people will not change their way. Because the country will stay the very same it is now. Vladimir Putin wanted to bring the USSR back. And he has brought it, all right, inside Russian people. And the rest of the country is just the surface. It's following that fundamental change inside the hearts of people. Mission accomplished. Now the question remains, what do we do now? Thank you so very much, friends. It's been my message for today. No numbers, no figures, no facts. What do you think? Do you think what I just said, makes sense and the changes are fundamental? Perhaps you know what to do? Please let me know in the comment section. Please advise, because I'm a bit lost. Thank you. I invite everyone to join me in a live stream chat. Don't sign off yet. I will answer I will try to answer all the questions thrown at me. My most favorite part of any live stream or any video, because I feel alive. I feel that I'm a part of a community, and I feel that this community is so alive and vibrant. So please, I just turned the live stream chat on, and not very cheerful message today. I'm sorry, but what can I do, you know? While I'm turning everything on, I want to remind you that tomorrow is economic news update. There's been another death in Russia, high-profile death. Deaths keep on happening, and that the rate is intensifying. There have been ratios of gasoline introduced, and I'm gonna talk a great deal about it tomorrow. Please tune in. It's going to be a video, not live stream. Thank you. Now, this is the best community, and I would like to thank you again. Inside Russia is absolute best. And it is because we have the best moderation team in the world that keeps the community pleasant, clean, and nice. The moderators are Lorna, Mami K, Harry Potnin, Bob S, Amir Fazad. Thank you very much, friends, for coming every day. Thank you for watching my back, and thank you for making this place a very nice virtual / real community that everyone has a good time. Thank you. Thank you so much. And everyone, the usual suspects, thank you for showing up again. The rules of this community are very simple. Be nice, respect other people, do not insult anyone, and do not discuss US politics. Thank you very much. And the last thing, if you want me to see your message easier, please put it in all caps and put Inside Russia after @ so it's highlighted in large orange box for me. And if I miss your message, your question, for some reason, it's not because I ignore you, it's because I missed it. There are so many messages. Keep on posting, and sooner or later, I usually notice messages. So thank you, friends. Again, hello, everyone. Pinda the Peanut, #1 today. Lorna, Harry, John, Leitmotiv, Jodes, Stefan, Scott, Werner. Werner is, as usual, with questions. And the first question is, how are the homecoming soldiers helping to enforce patriotism? With patriotic speeches at schools or alcohol-fueled rampages? Werner, when I was preparing for this live stream today, I was comparing the old country and this country. And very similar. And among other similarities, there was the war. The USSR was waging a war, and Russia is waging the war. The USSR in Afghanistan, Russia is in Ukraine. Well, the scale of the wars, the scales are incomparable. Okay, the war in Ukraine it's huge. The war in Afghanistan, well, I'm just going to give you the numbers. In 10 years in Afghanistan, 15,000 people were killed or died from wounds. 15,000 in 10 years. 1,500 every year. In Ukraine, we all have heard the numbers. Okay, that just so you understand the difference. But the thing is, those who you call homecoming soldiers, when they came from Afghanistan, they didn't really help to enforce patriotism. They all came with huge PTSD, traumas, and they were troublemakers. There weren't too many of them, but I was growing up. I was the teenager at the time when the war in Afghanistan was happening, and I was made very clear, and I knew better to stay away from a former Afghan soldier because, they could do anything. Imagine million people come into Russia and they've been exposed to much worse things. Okay, worse fighting. They've seen more people die around them. Um, Anything imaginable, you cannot compare it with the war in Afghanistan. The war in Ukraine is so much worse. So when they come, they not just going to be the troublemakers, they're going to be plague. Okay? Um, this is one of the problems that, many Russians talk about these days, but no one really knows what to do with them. Well, next question is Sebastian. I think Sebastian, I hope I pronounce your last name right, Jost. It's fine. Like you said, take Germany as inspiration. Oy, 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 my friend. You see, Russians aren't Germans. I know. My wife is German, and her family is German, well, part German, but Volga Germans. And let me tell you something: Russians are not Germans. I like Germans very much. I love the country. I have faith in Germans, and I'm so grateful that the Germans have showed the world that disease can be healed and and it could be overcome. Okay, to me, Germany is like a beacon of light in the world for everyone, and I sure hope that Russians will follow Germans' footsteps. I pray for that. I pray and I think a lot about how Russians going to fix, how to heal, how to make up with the Ukrainians, um, in any way possible. Will they take responsibility? Will they repent? At this time, at this point, I don't see that happening. Okay, and the Germans, you took responsibility. You repented. You came honest with the world. Okay, and the world accepted that, and you have rebuilt yourself. And it's taken a very long time. It took 80 years, but you have rebuilt yourself, and this is awesome. I think a lot about this. Unfortunately, I don't have easy answers. you know. Lorna, thank you for telling everyone about the caps. Bogdan Test Software, howdy. How your parents holding? Aren't they concerned of what tomorrow will bring? My dad passed away, unfortunately, in 2021. My mom, she's struggling. She's very concerned. I'm not going to talk much, that's personal details, but trust me, it's one of those things that affects me, my mother, my family, right here in the heart. Um, Sebastian, you need an Ardenauer. Are you sure you spelled the name right? Definitely need Willy Brandt. That's who we need. That's a legend. I remember I don't remember, but I remember reading and others telling about his visit to Moscow when he just jumped on the plane and visited, and started talking to the Russians. That was quite a move. My uncle went to the West Germany back in late 60s. My uncle was was making a career of being a communist when he was young. And then he fell out with communism, and they put him into prison for like a few years. But anyway, they sent him as an activist, young communist activist. They sent him to the West Germany, and I don't remember which city, but he spoke of it all his life, the remaining of his life. And that's when he started falling out with communism, personally falling out, because he saw what Germans had done in 25 years after the war. And they completely rebuilt the country, and they were living fantastic lives, incomparable to what the Soviets were living, And my uncle started asking questions once he returned, and then at the end they put him to prison. He became disloyal. Okay, he was amazed until his last days. He passed away not too long ago. He was absolutely amazed how Germany could rebuild itself so fast, in and out. So you are right. We do need Willy Brandt, and I think in German it's called Willy Brandt. Sam the Legend K. Howdy. Tammy Stovall. Hello. Pinda the Peanut, as professional sufferers, suffering in silence is also a way of withdrawing from reality. That's true. Gurmo. Sending my love to Finland. Visited Leningrad in late 60s and early 70s. Have a glimpse of Soviet era. I never liked Leningrad, Too cold, too damp, too dark, too... Tom W. Crazy, good nabend. Thank you so much. This stream, not too many people today, It's funny. The streams that I think are extremely important, not too many show up and not too many watch. The streams that... Well, all streams are important, but I think some are less important, that they attract most viewers. I don't understand how it works. It's very odd. Kev Sullivan from Omaha, Nebraska. Warren says hi. Okay, thank you so much. Sensei Cast. Thank you. It's very flattering. Thank you. Very flattering. Not cheerful mood today, Deborah from Southern California, sunny California, took a class on Russian history in college back in the 80s, and Russia not having democracy in their history didn't bode well with the future. You are right on, and your history teacher, was also right on that. SVR from Switzerland. Are people still leaving Russia? Oh, yes, you'd better believe it. Not too many come to Uzbekistan any longer, because a lot treated Uzbekistan as the transit point, Just when you gotta run, you don't care where you run. You just run outside Russia. Uzbekistan, one of the easiest places to run to. Now people plan, they sell everything, they learn language, they find attorneys in the country where they want to move to, and they take very fundamental approach to leaving and reestablishing their lives in a new country. So it's not like the old country. A very interesting might happen. A very interesting thing can happen in Russia soon. See, Vladimir Putin has been very, well, I'd say scared, and he's been communicating with Trump. He went to Alaska. He called for an emergency economic meeting with his economic minions. Now, Russia is going to hit the rock bottom sometimes in the fall, economically. In the front lines, it's also not doing well. A lot of people saying Russia is advancing. Well, first of all, advances very slow. They're losing tons of people, and I mean tons. And right now, the Ukrainians are striking back. So, not well. They're running out of people in the front lines. So Putin's got to do something. And one of the potential decisions could be to tighten the control over Russia, to renew the mobilization, to, September 1st, a slew of new laws that make lives of Russians more difficult, give the state more control, will be put in action. And the economy is falling apart. It's falling apart like a card house right now. Okay, I'm going to do a big video on that tomorrow. Please tune in. So Putin, he has no choice. He's got to do something. Okay, something that bails him out, bails the economy out. The only thing I can think of is taking tighter control over the country. Okay, that's all. Once that happens, you watch. More Russians will start leaving. There will be another wave of Russian refugees. Dale, great message. Unfortunately, when people have never thought for themselves and followed the leader with question, fear makes them slaves. Look at me, Dale. What the hell is wrong with me? Why the fear has not made me a slave? Why I'm unlike them? I don't understand this. Am I a freak of nature or something? Okay. If you think I don't have fear, well, you're wrong. Some reasons, at some times, at some moments, I could soil my pants easily. Okay. When I first time saw the KGB agent following me, my wife, and a couple friends of mine, the fear not comparable to anything I had experienced before. Okay? When you make this decision to leave your country, to leave everything behind, to leave, do you know how scared you are? Okay? Why that all hasn't made me a slave? I was growing up in the USSR. I was indoctrinated. I was a young pioneer, Октябренок, the grandchild of the Lenin, as they said, when I was in the first grade. I became the pioneer in the fourth grade, I was as indoctrinated as all of them were. What makes me different? And why there aren't more people like me in Russia? Sherleaf, howdy. Thank you for coming. Mr. Kaliskin from Chicago, hello. Jodes, we are back to the kitchen talk era. Yeah. Only now it's worse, because in the kitchen we were spy free. And right now everything spies on Russians. Their telephones, mobile phones, their TV sets, smart devices, gadgets, everything. And when they add the artificial intelligence to that, the constantly monitoring, constantly processing information, boy, that's going to be like digital cells, prison cells. Stefan, I wonder how the installation of the digital means of oppression is going with China's help. It's going very well. It's going effectively. It's going. It's progressing. Progressing. The digital ruble is about to start working. The messenger, they have banned Telegram, WhatsApp, other messengers will be banned. So now, just to let you know that you cannot use a Telegram in Russia for making calls. You cannot use WhatsApp. This new messenger called Mux will be introduced. Well, has been introduced already, and I'm gonna talk about it on Friday or on other day. By the way, I'm going to be taking a week off. So to let you know, friends, I'll still try to do daily snippets. I'll still try to be as much as in community posts, but I will put personal update on the schedule for the upcoming 10 days. So today live stream, tomorrow day economic updates. Then on Silicon Curtain there will be an interview with me on Thursday, so you can tune in there. And I will try to make Friday crazy news update because there's so many crazy news. After that, I'll just play it by ear. Elsha, I think the Russian people will let go of the stress as soon as they're no longer afraid. We will see. I saw that happen before, and I saw them turn back. So we will see, Elsha. I hope you're right. Per Haglind from Stockholm, Sweden. Howdy, friend. Must be nice in Stockholm right now. Warm, summer, you know. Martin Lindström, how is Exxon oil drilling in Siberia going? Why are you asking me this question? Now, I'm gonna reverse this question to you, Martin. How is Exxon oil drilling in Siberia going? Because I think we know the same. Keith from Hawaii, long time no see. Howdy, friend. Melanie Reed, I believe they're afraid for good reason. If it were me, I would be low profile, but I would be involved in some secret circles. That's the difference between you and them, because you would be, but they're not. When I was there, and things were not well, some of you might remember. I was there. I went live every single day. I did speak between the lines, and I kept everyone telling, please read between the lines. And it was not safe at the time already. But somehow I did something, and they're not doing anything. Carlos, thank you so much. I lived the last decades of the Cold War, and I was so enthusiastic on free Russia after the fall of the USSR, and now so disappointed for this reverse move. Carlos, imagine how I feel. Bogdan, parents. I already answered. Bogdan. Alice, in Norway, we're all learned the word glasnost and perestroika. The words. We all learned the words glasnost and perestroika. And they were wonderful words. You should have seen us in the USSR going through that transformation. At first, we were in awe. Was this possible? What? The party leaders are telling us to be free. They telling us we have right not to agree with them any longer. And that was, I don't know, it's really hard to explain. I was a kid. I was 10 years old. But you know what? I remember those times. I remember my parents sitting in the kitchen, my aunts and uncles visiting, and they were all like, their eyes were shining, and they were so happy, and they were discussing it. And I remember it was so intoxicating. Andreas, you're right. After the fall of Soviet Union, people in Russia don't use the freedom. They give the assets of the state in hand of some oligarchs and politics in the hand of mafia and the KGB. You see, Andreas, the way we handled state assets and state riches in the 90s was far from the right thing to do, but it was okay. It was okay because we were reinventing the wheel, okay, and we were learning. And Russia started coming along in the late 90s, okay. I believe that if it weren't for Putin and his friends, if the president would be if the president would be democratically elected instead of Putin, would be a different guy, not from KGB, things would have been so much different. I mean, look at Medvedev. Dmitry Medvedev was never a part of the KGB. Yes, he was the aide to Putin for a long time. Yes, he came from St. Petersburg, but he was not the part of their clique. Look what he did to Russia. Wonderful things. First thing he did, he fired 27 generals of the KGB, okay, who were trying to expand their influence. Putin came back 4 years later, reinstated them, okay. Medvedev forbade the tax agency, tax service, use their power against small businesses. He liberated so many markets. He did fantastic things. Well, then along came Putin. Tyler Douglas, I don't know what the word was, Russian perestroika. Well, perestroika in Russian literally means reconstruction. Mommy Case here, Super Mommy. Welcome back. Well, it's not, you never left. I shouldn't say welcome back. Great to see you, that's all. Smith from early morning Australia. I'm sending my love to Australia. It's a fantastic country. I'm going to take a couple days off, and one of the movies I want to watch is Crocodile Dundee. I think it was made in 1984. You see, when other people in normal countries were living their best life and making movies like that, we in Russia were living in 1984, literally, and we were just messed up in the heads. Alu, he married a German. He likes Germans. Well, I've been to Germany. It's not like I like Germans because I married a German. I like Germany in general. I like Ordnung. I like approach to life. I like pragmatism. I like common sense. I like the values that German people have. And, I studied Germany. I really like how it has showed everyone that it's possible to overcome even the biggest catastrophes that happen to countries, And of course, that Natasha is partially German, as that adds up to. Leitmotif: are people still able to access sources outside Russia? Yes, they are, but they don't. They don't. They have fear of being prosecuted, and they just don't care in general. Ronnie, when Prigozhin came out for Putin way back, all the people came out cheering. Don't know what happened to them after. when we see change again, that will affect their mood. Seems they are too scared. Everyone is silent. No one was prosecuted for cheering him. Okay, as far as I know, everyone is just shutting their lips shut, silent, trying to adapt to this new reality. Um, and by the way, Prigozhin is being erased from the memories, from all the archives, from that mutiny is not talked about in Russia any longer. Sabine Skarnak, ich bin auch Deutscher, living in the US. Okay, good to know. Good. The Germans make nice cars, good quality. Yes, very much so. The Germans make everything nice and good quality. Uh, tell me one German thing that is not of highest quality and that is not nice. I haven't seen anything like that. Bogdan, I understand using caps makes messages easier to read for K, but I don't understand why and how it's easier to read. I don't understand the mechanics of caps look like a wall to me. Well, I can't say that it's making me easier to read. It's making me easier to notice the message because there are like 10 million messages and they go like this, and I can't read them all at the same time. So I concentrate on those who jump into my site as all caps, and it's really, really easy to distinguish them. And of course, the best ones are highlighted in orange, that I don't even have to look for them in it. Sherleaf, I've been struggling to put this together, so I'll just ask, why did you think there was a strong possibility that Vladimir Putin would not come to Alaska after he announced he was? Well, I thought there was a possibility because Putin always plays games and, he rarely does what he says. It's all a political game for him. And I thought at first that Alaska was one of the worst places to come for him because simply he's not in safety in Alaska. He barely gets out of his bunker. And then flying to the land of the enemy is. Do you remember how Donald Trump showed him the bombers, B-2 bomber, the Bunkum bomber, saying, Vladimir, it can come for you. That was his message. And Putin felt uneasy, and because of these things, I thought that he wouldn't come. But then he outsmarted everyone, outplayed again. He came just for the sake of coming, for the sake of stepping on Alaskan soil and flying back. Okay, he must have gotten some guarantees from Donald Trump and his team because he felt safe enough to fly. But that's why I thought that he was not. He was just bluffing. He was not going to come. Hubert Delgoa, which role Alexander Solzhenitsyn played in Russian nationalism? I really have a hard time answering the question. It's Russian nationalism. Um, to us, Alexander Solzhenitsyn showed the insides of the Soviet system. He was the dissident who was basically kicked out of the Soviet Union, suffered a lot for his stand. He was showing us the example. He was standing up against the state. He was one of the very few people who understood what was going on, and he was brave enough to talk about it. He did 10 years in maximum security prison. So I'm not sure which role he played in Russian nationalism, but he definitely showed us all example of what a person can do to fight the state, the Soviet state. Time, says Lorna and Bob. Thank you, friends. Um, Thank you. Let just one question. That's it. $10H20. I have a lot of wonderful friends from LGBTQ plus community in Germany. Do you know how is the situation of LGBTQ people in Russia? Peter, not good. LGBTQ is considered extremist organization, and there's no such organization, but it's considered extremist organization. Even mentioning it can land you in prison. So they're not doing well. Okay. I hope I answered your question. I sorry for bad answer, but you know, I have some friends from LG. You folks, you make things too complicated. LGBTQ plus. I don't know. We in Russia we just say gays or lesbian. Uh, that's which is normal. You know, I have friends also who are gay. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, but they're not doing well. They're being oppressed in Russia right now. Oh yeah, a very good question from Slavek. Konstantin, do you have a book recommendation which have inspired you to be so firm on your democratic beliefs? Maybe some dissident bio. No. Friend, it wasn't a book. It was, I take it, I don't know. And this, I'm wondering myself, why? Why? Am I a freak of nature? Am I like an accident? Accident? No, not accident. Anyway, freak of nature or what? The first question I asked my teacher, she got mad. I think it was when I was 10, something like that, back in 1986, something like that. I asked her, well, the USSR, the Soviet Union, is the most wonderful country in the world, and I believed it, okay? Because I was indoctrinated, I was lied to by adults whose job was to lie and brainwash kids, okay? So as a kid, I was brainwashed, and I came to her and I said, well, how come we're such a great country and we have people leaving the country, emigrating? How come no one is coming to live in our country? I would expect the entire world trying to get trying to get inside the USSR, you know, knocking on our doors, saying, "Please take us. You are so wonderful. We have such oppression in the USA, in Japan, in Germany, you know, and you have so wonderful it here. Why aren't they all coming?" And she looked at me and she got mad. She said, "Don't you ever dare to ask this question." I pretend that I have not heard this question. You know, shut your mouth, something like that. And she was pretty firm. She said, "Don't ever ask this. Forget about you asking." And I was scared. Okay, and then I didn't forget though. But I was pretty scared. 10-year-old kid. I would think I was in the third grade or fourth grade at the time. You know why? Why am I like this? I have no clue. I was going to say the United States had a great impact on me. Yes, it did. But you know what? I came to the United States with certain views and values that they formed in the USSR. No book. I mean, there are plenty of nice books. Read Solzhenitsyn in the First Circle. Okay, very, very nice book. Or One Day of Alexander Denisovich, like the day in prison in the USSR. It's fantastic. Gulag Archipelago, good book. Um, I think Mikhail Gorbachev wrote an autobiography, which is pretty cool. So these are my recommendations. But I certainly was not coined result of reading a book on some kind of dissident biography. Thank you so much, Mods. Please forgive me for I got carried away a little bit. So here's my prayers list. Thank you, friends. Bridget, thank you, dear Konstantin. Hug to Natasha. Danke schön, Bridget. So Friends, I am inviting to join me in prayer. Thank you so very much for coming. Tough message, but hey, no one said it's going to be easy, right? Let's do it. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you so much for everything you've given us. Thank you for this day. Thank you for the food you've placed on our tables. And thank you for the roofs you put over our heads. Thank you for the loved ones, for the love in our lives, for our children and our families. Dear Lord, please give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads safe and peaceful. Please give us wisdom to raise our children so they will never fight in any wars and will just make this world a better place when they grow up. For now, please help our children to stay safe and healthy. Dear Lord, I am asking for Ukraine. Please help stop the bloodshed. The country has suffered so much, and the Ukrainians need peace and break, and they need normal life back. They need safety. I am asking you to help every single Ukrainian who has been affected by this terrible tragedy, by the war. Please answer their prayers and make their wishes come true. And I'm asking you to touch the hearts of all the leaders who are involved in the negotiations right now and fill them with love, mercy, empathy, forgiveness. Um, Please send angels to guide them to make right decisions. Wake them up from the lethargic sleep that they were at, so they make the decision to agree on a peace and will stop fighting. Thank you. Please help my country, Russia. It's been hijacked by the demons who we know by their names and by their faces. I am asking you to assemble your strongest angels with sharpest swords into one big army and have Saint Michael in shining armors lead that army down to the earth to get rid of the demons. Have your strongest angels come and help Russian people to run their country and transform it in the way that it becomes loving, peaceful, and respecting and respected. Dear Lord, please help everyone who is traveling, send them safe travels. Help everyone who is seeking for asylum of any kind, running away from evil. Send help their way. Help everyone who is in danger, in high waters, send safety. Help those who are helping Ukrainians, bless them, and help the Ukrainians who are currently under attack from Russian weapons, send them safety. I am asking for all single mothers and fathers who are struggling, trying to make ends meet, raising their children. Please send help their way. And dear Lord, please all who are hungry, cold, sick, addicted, homeless, jobless, betrayed, depressed, crying, going through divorce, not able to see their children, not able to speak to the loved ones, crying, feeling betrayed, feeling abandoned, losing their faith. Please reach out and touch the hearts of everyone in need. Fill them with love and warmth. Show them that you are still right next to them, watching every step they take, and love them. Thank you. Thank you so much for allowing us to come together and pray. Thank you for 2,100 people who are praying along with me or simply watching us pray. That's fantastic. Please make everyone's dream come true and hear everyone's prayer. I have a few people who need your help, and I am asking for these people, and all of us who are praying right now, we're asking for you to help Rod with recovering from the surgery, Uli Yun, Victor Garishan, Lee and Brenda, Greg, Daniela From and the family, Karen, Janice, Teresa, Ron Bazoid, and Hannah, Jeffrey S. and his family, Katharina, Mark, Tom W., J.R. McKim, Gabing with Gary, Lisa, Harry, Terry, John, Linda, Paula W., Dennis, Jason, Susie, Tim Mayers, Dory, Rhonda, John, Taylor, Wayne, Darla, George Ruberty, Pamela J., Metta Spencer, David Porter, and everyone who's in Chernovtsi, Ukraine, Life, Randolph, Grace, Dean Spooner and his church, Yelena, Natalia, Michael, Jake, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Svetlana, Sergey and Sergey, Liz, Ron, Liz, Koshkin Dom, Sandra, Mike and Mike, Petra, Joseph, Millie, Jodes, Philip, Eileen, Highwayman, Rhonda, Denise Abbott, Jeff Gibson, Renata, and Derek Martinez. Dear Lord, also please help thousands of children who have been separated with their families in Ukraine. Help them reunite with their families. Thank you so very much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you, friends, for coming and being with me in this very hard live stream. Very emotional for me. I would like to remind you that you're awesome and you rock. And I would like to see you again tomorrow. I have a treat for you, economic update. So many news. Please come and check it out. And then on Thursday, go and see Silicon Curtain interview. We talk on the current political developments between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States. Thank you. Before I sign off, as usual, I am asking you to say out loud as I can, along with me, the following. Carthago delenda est.